Thank you, Chair. Over to you. We're live on YouTube and recording.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome back to East Devon District Council's Virtual Licensing and Enforcement Subcommittee on the 19th of May 2021. For the benefit of those who've just joined us, I am your Chair, Councillor Joe Wibley. Can I just remind participants to make sure all phones are turned off or on silent and make sure all microphones are muted when you're not speaking to avoid any background noise. We will now recommence by doing a roll call of subcommittee members here present. So, councillors, can you unmute your microphone, and when you hear your name, confirm by saying present, and when you have confirmed, can you mute again? Alicia.
Councillor Bloxham.
Present.
Councillor Dent.
Present.
Councillor Wibley.
I am present.
Thank you.
Okay, so we now move to agenda item 7, after the longest break I think I've ever had in a council meeting, which is nice, which is an application for a premises licence at the Grand Hotel Exmouth. I'd like to welcome all participants in the meeting. So this is the consideration of a new premises licence to authorise the provision of regulated entertainment, provision of late night refreshment, and the sale of consumption for alcohol on and off of the premises. So I'll just go through the details. The premises is the Grand Hotel of Morton Crescent, Exmouth. We've introduced the councillors present. The council officers present are Mrs. Barber, the licensing officer, Mrs. Jenkins and Ms. Thompson, democratic service officers, who will be taking full notes of the hearing and conducting the hearing on Zoom, and Mr. Salter, a council lawyer who is acting as legal advisor to the committee. So can I just identify, although we've done it informally, who is present, who's given notice to the council in writing that they wish to address the subcommittee and their representatives? So we have
I think it's probably me to start with, sir. My name is Gloag, Angus Gloag. I've been instructed on a direct access basis to represent the applicant, and we should also have Peter Hutchinson here from the organisation.
Yeah, I see him. That's great. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the responsible authorities have reported the Devon Cornwall Police are not attending, but there is an agreed position between the police and the applicant, and that is outlined in Appendix D. We also have a note from Environmental Health, who are not here today, but there have been no noise complaints about the premises since 2005, and the applicant has been advised about potential noise measures and equipment, such as a noise limiter that could be imposed if complaints in the future are received. And that is the sum of the representations we have received. Okay, so we've read all the documents submitted by the parties in advance of the hearing. Any document that anyone has brought with them today may only be submitted to us if all the other parties to this hearing agree, as required by the hearings regulations. And anybody wishing to introduce any further evidence should make that request immediately before they begin to address the subcommittee.
Chair, can I just interrupt there? Sorry. Interested parties, Mr. Rousel actually did give notice that he wished to attend, but I don't think he's going to be present now, but he's given his apologies.
Yeah,
we ought to note that.
Yeah, thank you.
Just so that we don't prejudice anyone's opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, that's fine then. So the maximum time for any party to address us, including their witnesses, will be 10 minutes. Remember to switch on your microphone so we can hear you, etc. So we've spoken about not raising anything new. When addressing us, don't raise any new issue not covered in the representations you've already lodged to council, and do not raise issues which are not relevant to the promotion of the licensing objectives in this hearing, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of harm to children, and the prevention of public nuisance. The written representations we have received from interested parties appear to relate principally to 2 of the 4 licensing objectives. First, in relation to the prevention of crime and disorder, The representation suggests this is a residential area with a large number of elderly and vulnerable people living nearby. The increased football and late night activity will impact massively upon them, especially at night. For example, the increased noise and associated activity in the middle of the night, in the middle of a residential area. And regarding the prevention of public nuisance, I can see the benefit to such a club or establishment in town where all the other cafe bars are, but not in the middle of a residential area where people will take to travel to, hence the increase in late night footfall. Parking in the air is already an issue and the application will make that worse. Noise from the address will be a huge problem from the inside and outside. Under the previous licensee, noise could be heard from the property. It's set within a conservation area of Exmouth Town Centre. Many of the residents nearby are older and live in close proximity. The quality of life being an important criterion for living close to the sea, and there will be an impingement upon this. And the impact of the lives of those who live in the vicinity should be equal priority to the economic needs of the hotel. Okay, so where I think it helpful, I may choose to lead a discussion. That may be the most effective way of identifying concerns, and will allow questions at appropriate points. So the subcommittee's legal advisor will briefly go through the procedure for today's hearing. Mr. Salter.
Thank you, Chair. As there's only the applicant present, it'll have two rounds of representations. First of all, we're going to ask the licensing officer to give a summary of the application as it stands today. Then there may well be some questions from members, any questions from the applicant, and then we'll move to the applicant making his case, followed by questions from members. There are no interested parties, as I said, so there may be some opportunity then to discuss any issues that the committee may wish to bring up. And then I think when that's concluded, the committee may well wish then to retire to make their decision. So that's the way in which the hearing will take place.
Okay.
I don't think there's any. Do you want me to talk about closure powers and review, or I don't think there's any necessity if there's no IPs present?
No, I don't think at the moment that's necessary. And can I just confirm that on this agenda item will we be meeting separately, discussing our decision, and then coming back to announce it today, or will that be in writing within 5 days?
It's up to you, Chair. We're quite happy to. The hearings regulations allow for a decision to be notified to the applicant and all IPs within 5 working days. So we can send that out. We will send that out, and it will give me an opportunity then to write it for you.
I think that's probably what we'll do. Just puts you under less pressure as a team to get that decision done properly. No, that's fine. Okay, so have we seen a plan of the premises with the various areas of licensable activity proposed? Yeah, I've just got a note to ask that question.
There are plans in the agenda at Appendix B1, B2, and Appendix C.
Excellent.
Which shows the various floors of the premises and, as it were, a location within the residential area of the premises.
Okay, I think that
there are also a number of photographs that have been submitted, which just give a street view of the premises in situation there. Okay,
I think that may be a hangover from the previous application we discussed actually on this.
Yeah.
On my web paper here. Okay, so right, we'll now move to the report from the licensing officer. Leslie here.
I'm here.
Yeah. Are you okay to do that for us now then, Leslie?
Yes, of course, no problem. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, so the details of the proposed licensable activities and the timings are provided within the report. I wasn't intending to run through those page by page, but I did want to draw your attention to the plans actually, first of all, which you just mentioned, Chair, which are on page 145 and 146 now of the report. So it's worth noting that there are three proposed areas within the plans: the function room and the dining room, which are both on the lower ground floor, and then the bar area, which is referred to as the lounge on the plans, which is on the ground floor. So these are of importance really when you come to look at the police agreed position, excuse me, because that differentiates different timings and what have you between the different areas. So it's those three areas that are proposed for licensable activities within the premises. Giles actually just mentioned also the location plan, which gives you an idea, if you're not already familiar with the location of where this particular premises is. So there are clearly residential properties nearby. The Grand Hotel sits within a large sort of terrace, and a number of those properties are residential. But it is perhaps important also to mention that this is not a solely residential area. This does front onto the seafront, and there are a number of businesses around the Grand Hotel itself. Now, the police agreed position, which is at page 186, this ties in really when you're looking at the plan also, because the police have asked for a number of changes to the timings within specific areas of the building. And it's important really to note that the ground floor bar, the dining room, and the function room, which is actually all of the proposed licensed areas, the police are looking for the hours to be pulled back, or they've agreed that the hours will be pulled back to 11 p.m. for the sale of alcohol, unless there are bona fide functions taking place at the premises. So that's really the crux of the police representation, although they do go on to agree additional conditions with the applicant as well. So as a result of the police agreement, a number of the interested parties have withdrawn their representation. So we did have 30 reps to start with. We now have 15 outstanding representations. So a number of residents have been happy with the agreement that the police has made with the applicant. A number of the outstanding representations do relate really to the live and recorded music, which you'll see as not being part of the police representation. The rep from the police related solely to the sale of alcohol and the closing times. So my understanding is a number of the local residents are concerned perhaps that live music, recorded music, could continue on to the times originally applied for, which was 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. Really, I think the concern is in relation to residents and the fact that there'll be no restriction on the live or recorded music for residents. I have had further discussions with the applicant subsequent to the agreement with the police, and Mr. Hutchinson did indicate that there could be some movement on the timings for live and recorded music. So that may be something that the committee may wish to explore with the applicant. But really, that's the application as it stands today. As I say, there are 15 representations that still remain outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Do we have any questions from the committee to Leslie? No, Councillor Den. No, okay, that is fine. Okay. Do we have any questions from the applicant regarding that, or are you content to speak at the moment?
Just very briefly, if I may, sir. Miss Barber, can you hear and see me at all?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Excellent, thank you. And have you got the bundle to hand at all, or are you working electronically? I
have the bundle to hand, yes.
If you look at the new proposed license activities, it's as Appendix H. Forgive me, my bundle isn't paginated, but I've got Appendix H. So I don't know whether you've got that to hand at all.
I will have it, yes, go ahead, yes.
Okay, so we follow it. Do you know what page that is for the others that are following this at all?
Yeah, page 190.
190. So page 190, this is what is proposed for the hotel. And if we go to then what must be 191, which is Appendix I, which is extracted, it seems to be from a larger document saying page 14 of 16. Do you have that to hand at all?
I do, yes.
Those were the conditions for the Grand Hotel, because as I understand, it closed about a year ago now, didn't it?
I think it may be a little over that, yes, but that would be around about correct, yes.
And that license that they had was for some 15 years, with the conditions set out there in terms, yes?
I don't have the history of the actual premises license to hand. The summary that I've included within the bundle, that was the most recent conditions and timings in relation to the application, in relation to the previous license. I wouldn't like to say historically.
No, but if we look at page 191 and we look between the hole punches, we can see that this license commenced on the 24th of November 2005. So some 16 years ago. So I'm just trying to get a sort of feel for this license lasted for some 15 years in terms of what's recorded here.
That's correct, yes. They would have converted when the Act changed in 2005, yes.
Yeah, that's right. And then so what happens? And the hotel had been a hotel for some time before that as well, yes?
I would assume so, but I'm not, I don't have that information. I don't know how long it's been.
I don't want to say that because I don't know myself, actually, so I want to be clear about that. But what we can see is effectively, if we did a compare and contrast, say between page 190 and 191, the regulated entertainment for, say, films, live music, recorded music, and dance. So, and we have it then listed down there, yes?
Yes, I see that, yes.
And so you could do a compare and contrast. And so if you look at it, there is some change, but some very slight changes between the two of them, yes? In terms, yes?
I haven't compared them directly myself, but yes, I would imagine there are a few differences.
And in terms of the agreed position from the police, which is your page 186, so that we understand, there's a sort of basement which is called the lower ground floor, and that is effectively where most of the licensed activity seems to take place, in the sort of lower ground floor. Is that right?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yes. Yeah.
And then on the ground floor is effectively the bar, yes?
The bar, correct, yes.
Right, okay. And have you got any observations on the agreed position between the police and between the applicant?
No, I have no observations.
Thank you. And then I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have no interested parties here, so I will now ask Mr. The applicant, either of you who wish to speak. You have 10 minutes to speak regarding the application, and we'll be given a 30-second warning.
So I didn't mean to cut across you, sir. Forgive me. The name is Glogue, and I'm going to ask Mr. Hutchinson if we could. Is Mr. Hutchinson there at all?
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Hutchinson, I'm just going to ask, can you just confirm your full name?
Yeah, Peter Hutchinson.
And what is your connection with this application?
So I'm the DPS for the property.
And what is your background, Mr. Hutchinson?
I've been a hotelier for 16 years.
And who is the organisation that you represent?
Axel Hospitality.
And how many hotels does that organisation own? 10
hotels.
And could you give us the locations of them?
Yeah, so there's currently 3 in Scotland, 1 in York, 1 in Croydon, 2 in Bath, 1 in Bournemouth, 1 in Exeter, 1 in Manchester. My numbers might not completely add up, but that's roundabout.
And the portfolio of them in terms of the where stars, what is the portfolio of the organisation?
So they're a mix of branded hotels, blended between 3 and 4 star, more towards 3 star, but some 4 star properties as well.
Okay. And any difficulties at all that you know in any of the hotels at all?
No issues in any properties.
This hotel is currently closed, yes?
Correct, yeah.
And I understand it was a 3-star hotel, yes?
That's correct, yeah.
Since the organisation has purchased it, what has it done to the hotel?
It's currently undergoing refurbishment works.
And how much were how much did that cost the organisation so far?
To date, it's £250,000.
And how many employees are you looking to employ?
Between 20 and 30.
Okay. And can I understand this? The new license that we see Do you have the bundle physically in front of you, Mr. Hutchinson?
I do, yes.
And if you go to Appendix H, which is 190,
Yes,
are these the hours that you seek?
that is correct. Yep.
Okay. Can I go to the agreed position of the police? And so can we go to page 186?
Yes.
Sorry,
Sorry.
there. I have different, for some reason, I have different pagination numbers. Is that appendix, which appendix are you referring to there, please?
The one I'm going to now, Mr. Salter, is what's called page 24 of 27 in Appendix D. I think it's page 186. Hopefully I've got that right.
I think we don't have pagination on most of them either. So yeah. So if you
yeah, I have that. The agreed position. Yeah, absolutely. Got that.
So if I can go to Appendix D, it has a sequential running at the bottom right hand corner, page 1 of 27.
Yep.
Perfect. Can I just ask the chair if you've got that? It's hopeless if I've lost you, sir. I don't mean to lose you, Mr. Woodley.
Yeah, I've got that.
Excellent. So we can go to page 24 of 27. How did this agreed position between you and the police come about?
So we had discussed via email in regards to the license application.
And are you quite content that this is an accurate representation of the agreement between you and the police?
Yes.
Okay. And are you going to carry out what is stated here?
Yes.
Okay. Though the hotel is a 3-star hotel at the moment, what is the intention / plan?
So the intention is to rebrand the hotel into a Best Western brand, and moving forward to establish it as a 4-star hotel.
Now, objectors in the pack. Can you tell us how that objection you think came about, and what you say about the objection? So, how do you think the objections came about? I know you can't speak on other behalf, and it's a little speculation, but tell us what you think.
So, actually, having discussed with a few neighbours outside the property itself, it would appear that there was a misunderstanding that the hotel intended to become a nightclub, which is absolutely not our intention. We do not run nightclubs within the business. We do not want to run a nightclub.
Are there any other nightclubs in any of the other hotels that you have across the portfolio?
No, no.
Okay. How do you think that the impression of a nightclub came about?
So the notice that we display is very basic in its regard, and does not allow clear stipulation of timings and where the timings are to be located. Most of the timings that had been applied had been with the intention of running functions, pre-booked functions such as weddings or parties in the basement areas of the hotel. The license does not stipulate that. Therefore, when the public would have seen it, I believe they understood that we were intending to run a nightclub from the timings, not understanding the application.
Now, I know that that's a bit of speculation on our behalf, but you think that may be how this came about. Now, as I understand, there are 15 representations still standing, and I think an apology, I think, came from Richard Allison today. Have you had the opportunity of looking at Mr. Allison's representations, which I think we would find at your page 27 of 27 of that Appendix D?
Yes, was that directed to myself? Sorry.
Yes, it is. Sorry, Mr. Hutchinson.
That's okay.
Any observations on the representations that Mr. Allison has made?
So I have an objection from Claire Allison, which I believe is the same as Richard Allison.
In fact, if you go to page 27 of 27, do you have so if you go to Appendix D,
okay, yeah.
And if you go to page 27, I think this, as I understood it, was from the introduction, it was Richard Allison, whose apologies have been accepted. Have you any observations on this in terms of countering what is said?
Yes, so one point raised was that Morton Crescent is a residential area within a conservation area, having potentially hundreds of people drinking in the garden areas of the hotel is surely a recipe for disaster, especially during the summer months. We do not seek to change the license from the license that was previously held, and especially in regards to drinking in the garden.
Okay. And so, and when the chair quite probably said, articulated this was a residential area and noise was a concern, have you any observations on that?
So we've agreed with the police that the license for general public would only remain until 11 p.m. Any function or any pre-booked function that would go later than 11 p.m. would only be permitted in the downstairs basement area of the hotel and not outside.
Okay. And in terms of music, I know that this is a theme that runs through. What is your position in respect of music and live music?
So the intention for the music would only be to play downstairs again in the function spaces. I had discussed with, and forgive me for not knowing exactly who, but explaining that we would be happy to put in a decibel limiter, but it was deemed that it wouldn't be required as there were no noise complaints previously held in the hotel.
But if that became an issue, is that something you would keep under review?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Okay, well, is there anything else, Mr. Hutchinson, that you would like to emphasise in this application at all?
I think we've made it clear just that the intention, and not just the intention, but the business plan for the hotel is not to run it as a nightclub. The timings outlined were mainly intended for the function, sale of functions in the hotel, not for general day-to-day use.
Okay. Well, then, if you stay there, Mr. Hutchinson, there may be some questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rogue and Mr. Hutchinson. Do we have any questions from the committee? Mr. So, Councillor Dent.
Yeah. Put my microphone on. How frequently do you, this is to Mr. Hutchinson, how frequently do you anticipate having functions? How often do they occur? Weddings, events, parties, and all the rest of it?
It'd be very difficult to say exactly. I know the hotel has history of running functions. However, the main function room downstairs is in quite a state of disrepair and would not be opened for some time until it was refurbished. Our intentions are to actually convert that area into a spa as opposed to redoing it as a function room, which would just leave us with the restaurant area at the front of the hotel, which is also in need of refurbishment and is not in the best condition. If it was operating as a fully operating refurbished hotel with just the area at the front, I would forecast possibly once a week you may have a function there, but unfortunately I do not know the Exmouth market inside out at the moment.
Okay, do you have any further questions, Councillor Dent?
No, thank you, not at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hutchinson, for your answer. Councillor Bloxham.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Hutchinson, you talk about an extensive refurbishment programme happening and you just referred to it again. Are there any soundproofing measures being put into that refurbishment programme?
There are not, no. So the refurbishment programme currently is just focused on bedrooms and public areas. As I said, the areas downstairs that would be used for loud music, let's say, or function use, is not actually planned to be refurbished as of yet, but would not be usable until it was.
Can I just come back on that,
Yeah,
Chair?
sorry. Yeah, of course.
Bearing in mind some of the residents in their representations have talked about noise being heard within their homes previously, is that something you would be prepared to consider when you do come to refurbish the hotel?
I would say, should we need to, or should noise become an issue, then we would look to go down any routes possible to limit it. I would have thought refurbishing and making it noise how do I say, not noise safe, but avoiding noise would be very difficult. So the first thing would be to reduce the level of noise. If that was not suitable, then potentially we could look at soundproofing the basement area, the function area, of course.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Dent, you have another question.
Thank you very much. Yes. Again, Peter, when's the refurbishment programme likely to start? How long will it take? And it does seem that for the number of hotel bedrooms you've got, as well as the big function room and the bar area, which you say both need quite serious refurbishment, the budget seems quite small to me. So can you tell us a bit more about the refurbishment programme, please?
Yes, so we are currently redecorating all 76 sellable bedrooms in the hotel. That has been underway since the end of April. And we are hoping to draw to a conclusion by the end of this month, although there may be some rooms still out of stock whilst they're finished off. That includes full refurbishment of 30 bedrooms in the hotel, which started at the beginning of this month and is intending to finish into the first 2 weeks of June. We have had refurbishment works carried out to the ground floor only. We do not intend to use the lower level of the hotel to begin with. If we were to open those areas, we would look to refurbish them in due course, but there is no set date for that. So the intention is to run the hotel to begin with as a bed and breakfast only, where the downstairs area, the ground floor would be used for breakfast. As I say, the basement area would not be used.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have any questions? I actually think my colleagues have asked the questions that I would have done, which is always useful. Okay. So we don't have any interested parties here. This. Right. Okay. So I think I'll now ask Mr. Globe to make a final statement if he wishes to. And aside from that, yeah, we will then go away and have a discussion. So, Mr. Globe, do you have any a final statement you'd like to make?
Just very briefly, following on from that, the organisation is sensible in taking its obligations seriously. They have a portfolio of approximately 10 hotels, which are 3 to 4 star. This hotel was purchased and is in a bit of a state. To get it up and running, they're obviously just investing in, because of the significant sums involved, in the bedrooms, and there's obviously an extensive program on that. That will get the business up and running, and then they'll obviously seek to refurbish the other areas. So they're not trying to lower what was there, they're trying to increase what was there. And I think one gets it, that they're obviously aspirational about involving effectively a national organisation like Best Western. That isn't going to attract problems because of the brand that is. As I understand, that's what the negotiations are about. And they seek just a licence in the terms which are set out. They can understand how the objections have come about, and it's speculation on Mr. Hutchinson, because when the application goes up, people naturally assume that there was something that it isn't. Perfectly reasonable objections in terms of the way that they were portrayed. When, of course, the police have engaged, or the licensing authority have engaged, many of those have fallen away in terms of the objection. There was an agreed position between the police and the applicant. Again, we say there's significant weight to really be attached to that, because the police will understand effectively what is required in the circumstances, and they seek the hours as in the application. This is to be predominantly a hotel. In fact, it tumbled out under one of the questions, I think, from, I don't know whether it was Councillor Bloxham or Dent, forgive me, but they were looking actually to decrease some of the areas by, again, investing, by having a spa well, that's something which again is, I think, to the benefit of the locality, rather than effectively causing a cause for concern. So I would urge this application to this committee, and I don't know, sir, if there's any particular matter that I can assist with.
No, I think at that point, I think you've been very helpful. You've managed to answer the questions that we put to you, and I thank you for that. So Giles, can I just confirm again, so I've got this straight, we will contact the applicant within 5 days.
5 working days with our decision, yeah. We're going to go and make our decision now, but the written decision will come out within the next 5 working days. Yeah,
okay. So I shall end. No, sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, I mean, we always have delivered a decision on the day, but I think because it's so difficult to do it with Zoom, to reconvene meetings, etc., I think we're going to use the full 5 days of the hearings regulations. So I hope that satisfies and the applicant is content with that. Yeah, that makes sense. So I will bring this meeting to an end then, for those viewing on YouTube. So that brings this meeting to an end, and I would like to thank everybody, including any members of the public watching online, for taking part. Can I just remind those present that the sporting officer will confirm when the meeting is no longer being recorded or going live, and until then your comments will be live to the public. I'd just like to thank Mr. Hutchinson and Mr. Globe for their contributions today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, a thank you to all of the officers involved as usual, and the committee.